This is a Gear Network production.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Mr. Perez, and you're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast, brought to you exclusively on Gear Network. Listen in.
Welcome, everybody. Episode number 80 of the Better Live Than Dead podcast.
Episode number 80.
We're
What's
20
up,
away.
peoples?
20 away from 100. We've done a lot of talking. Wow.
Yeah.
It's been
We have done a lot of talking, that's for sure.
and I do a lot of talking no matter what. I love to talk, as you probably all know by now, whether you know me or you listen to the podcast. I like to dabble in the art of spoken word. But I am Ryan Wolf, at Wolf BLTD on Twitter, joining me on the line after some technical difficulties. Mr. Perez, You can catch him at
up?
MRLG Perez on Twitter.
All right. What's going on, peoples?
How you doing, man?
Man, I'm all right. Like I told y'all last week, I got laid off, so I'm in the middle of the job search, and, it's only been like 2 weeks, so I'm not allowing myself to get frustrated because I'm still getting paid. But some of the jobs
are you getting frustrated?
A little, because some of the job offers that I'm getting are just, stuff that I really don't want to be doing, or stuff that I'm way too qualified for, or, I have a very impressive resume. It's just not attracting what I want yet. But like I said, it's early yet.
That is true. You got to give it some time. You got to be patient. But
Right.
the time right now, you can't really be patient. That's the problem. So it's you're not doing it on your terms. You're doing it on someone else's terms, and
Right.
that's the most difficult. I mean, that was the hardest part for me, finding a new job. Even when I still had a job, looking for a job, it was like, what I'm looking for or what I'm finding is not what I want to be looking, or like what I want to be finding, I guess is the best way to put it. But that's life. That's just like life in a nutshell.
It is. I did just apply for a manager's position where you work.
Really?
Yes.
Like a coach?
Yes.
Shit, you should have told me. I would have put in a referral, because if you got the job and you worked there 6 months, I would have got paid like $1,000.
Oh, well.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry.
You can just give me, if you get the job, you can just give me $1,000.
That's what I'll do. I'll get right on that if I get the job. I'll report you. I know you're not feeling well.
Oh man, I'm close to kicking the bucket, I think. I'm kidding. I'm being sarcastic, obviously. I woke up yesterday with a sore throat and kind of a little bit of a weird sinus thing, and I felt okay throughout most of the day. Last night, it kicked me in the ass, and I felt horrible last night when I got home from work. Woke up today, don't feel much better. I've eaten nothing but crackers and applesauce. I've had some Gatorade. I actually bought some Pedialyte, which I'm drinking right now. It makes me feel a little better.
Pedialyte, huh?
Yeah,
hey,
dude.
Ryan, hold on a second. Keep talking. My wife just pulled up next to me, so I'm going to talk to her for a second.
Oh, you're okay.
Keep talking.
I grabbed some Pedialyte because, I have done some research, and the research tells me that Pedialyte is good to make you feel better very quickly. A lot of people use it for hangovers, but I mean, I'm obviously not hungover. I'm ill, but I just feel kind of like my batteries are not charged fully. But I'm trying to get caught up on some sleep. I mean, it doesn't help that tonight the Sabres play on the West Coast, and I'm doing the recap for BLTDsports.com. But it's something I'll go hang out in my onesie or whatever and watch hockey here shortly. But yeah, I'm feeling a little crappy. I'll feel better soon. I hope so. But excuse me. Yeah, like I said, I'm standing by Pedialyte. I mean, it tastes a little like kind of chalky, I guess, is the best way to put it, because it's just a bunch of electrolytes. It's an oral electrolyte solution, is what the bottle says. But it's for $5.
Come back.
You're okay. For $5, it's 1 liter. What I was telling the people while you had me muted is that Pedialyte has gained in popularity over the years because it has been proven to be a very good hangover solution.
Really?
Yeah. So it's Because I wanted to make sure, because I wasn't totally sure if it was adult for adults. And the first thing I saw was Pedialyte hangover solution. And I'm like, I guess so. But the thing about it is there's no, I mean, it's level per liter of electrolyte sodium is way more than a sports drink, way more than soda, way more than apple juice, way more than water. It quickly replenishes fluids and zinc and electrolytes lost to help prevent dehydration. So
really?
It's making me feel a little better. Yeah, after the podcast, I'm going to hop in the shower, chilling in some comfortable clothes, get my onesie on, wrap up, watch my hockey later, and do the recap for the website.
Sorry, dude. Hearing the grown man say, put my onesie on, makes me chuckle every time.
I'm not a grown man. I'm a child, dude. Come on. I'm a child at best. But yeah, I'm having some fun over here. It's same shit, different day pretty much, but everything else seems to be going good, so I'm not too mad about it. But we've got a lot to talk about in sports today, so we'll get to that. We've got some other cool, fun stuff we can talk about after the podcast. Regarding some life stuff, but I'm not going to mention that now because we'll get on a tangent, and I don't want to get on a tangent. Starting off with, we'll start off with the at the top, the NFL this week. Jared Allen announces his retirement. Carolina defensive end Jared Allen announces his retirement from the game. It may be the first time we see the number 69 retired, which is pretty nice. He was a fantastic football player for Kansas City, for Minnesota, and even in a short time for Carolina, he was effective. So the game won't be the same without Jared Allen because he's not only, he's a character, but he's a good football player. He's a character. I mean, he announced his retirement by riding off on a horse. So
yes, he
did. Happy trails. Safe, whatever. Have fun, enjoy yourself, enjoy your NFL-less life because you've earned it. You're one of the greatest defensive ends we've seen in this era. I think he's had well over 120 sacks or something like that. He's been pretty damn good and consistent.
He has been.
Another retirement to talk about this week. Speaking of consistency, Pittsburgh Steeler tight end Heath Miller announces his retirement. He won't be a Hall of Famer, but what I was saying is he's likely to be like a Pittsburgh Steeler Ring of Honor kind of guy. Which makes sense because Heath Miller seems kind of like that blue-collar athlete that places like Pittsburgh and Buffalo enjoy. I mentioned Buffalo because whenever I say blue-collar, Buffalo comes to mind because that's the explanation we always get. But, yeah, right. Heath Miller's a blue-collar, hard-working kind of football player, and that's why Steelers love him. That's why Pittsburgh loves him. And Pittsburgh will probably be better off without him because he's not the most fleet of foot. And he's gotten up there in age and miles, but it's going to be weird seeing a Steeler football team without Heath Miller on the field.
Especially if you're a Pittsburgh Steeler fan. That's too bad.
I was going to say I'm not a Steeler fan, but it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird to not see Heath Miller on the field. The Los Angeles Rams cut tight end Jared Cook. Not too surprising. He underwhelmed a little. But some bigger names that they cut. Defensive end Chris Long, former second overall pick. It was a money thing. He's been injured the past couple years, but when he's healthy, he's been effective. He's been good. A lot of people are tying him to the Raiders, obviously, because of his father, Howie Long. And that strong defense, if he could be another piece to that machine that team is creating on defense, it could be a win-win situation for both. And then linebacker James Laurinaitis was also cut. He's not been he was one of the worst rated linebackers in the league, fancy stats wise. But that's also a money thing too. They save I think like $22 million by cutting those three guys. I'm sure all three of them will not struggle to find new homes. It'll just be interesting to see how effective they are. It'll be interesting to see how effective they are in their new home.
Yeah, no, that's sometimes you got to save some green, and $22 million is a pretty good chunk of change. But that also that opens up some money for you to go get someone else that your offense might need, or replace someone on your defense for a little less money.
You just got to be able to replace those guys. Like I said, Laurinaitis is when a couple years ago was decent. Chris Long, when healthy, has been good. So, I mean, you're not really losing much, I guess, but I mean, at some point in time, you know, the Rams have to take that next step, and they just have not done that.
No, they have not.
So I was going to turn this into just a bash of the Rams.
It would be interesting if Long goes to the Raiders, though.
I think that would be pretty cool.
Sorry, I agree with you.
Had to take a swig of my Pedialyte over here. It's like sweet and chalky. So sometimes you get like a really sweet taste. Sometimes you get like kind of a chalky taste. I mean, it's not my favorite thing, but
different. Does it say like mix real well on the bottle?
No. You're supposed to just drink it straight.
Oh, okay.
It's not supposed to taste good. It's a bunch of stuff you're just putting into your body to feel better.
Right.
Moving over now to the Jets. They cut cornerback Antonio Cromartie, which on the surface it's a surprise, but looking at the stats, not a surprise. He has not been very good, and they won't struggle to replace him at cornerback. But Cromartie off the Jets. Should have asked John his thoughts. I'm sure John would have just farted or something into the microphone, and then we would have moved on from there.
Probably. For all the noise Cromartie makes about himself, he was kind of a disappointment.
Yeah, dude. He was not. He certainly disappointed. Excuse me, like you said, he disappointed this year, and I don't know if he'll be able to resurface in the league because I mean he's been so bad. Maybe he can go somewhere where they can protect him, and he can go on a cheap deal or an incentive laden deal and go from there. But I don't think anything is going to happen with Cromartie anytime soon.
Yeah, we'll find out. I'm sure someone will pick him up.
Well, if they can protect him, but that's really it.
Right.
Dallas defensive end Randy Gregory suspended 4 games for substance abuse. Green Bay defensive tackle Mike Pennell suspended 4 games also for substance abuse. And the last interesting thing about the NFL before we move on, apparently the salary cap is going up because the owners lied and hid money from the players.
Yes, they did.
So that doesn't surprise me because the NFL is a tire fire of stupidity and concussions. And they tried to hide a couple, I think it was like over $100 million or something like that. And
$150 million.
Thank you. Thank you for the exact number. Yeah, so a lot of money that was hidden, and now it's going back on the salary cap. So now the cap is going to be like $150-some million or something like that.
That's a lot of money to just try to hide.
Yeah, that's whoever tried to do that and get away with it needs to be hit in the head with a tack hammer because how dumb are you?
Like, yeah.
Like if you try to hide $20, if you hide $20, you can get away with that. $150 million, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, $150 million. That's a difficult one. Like, hey, I thought we had that extra $150 mil. No, I don't know what you're talking about. What extra $150 mil? You know that money that we were making. No, what you're talking about.
I do not understand it.
No $150 million here. Move on, please.
Yeah, I don't know where this money is. I don't know where it came from. I hate it when I'm on the podcast. $150 million. I could do a lot. I could probably get a computer that worked better. That's for sure. I'm on the podcast right now talking to you, obviously, but I'm trying to get a webpage popped up so we can move on here in a second to talk about the NBA trade deadline, and this goddamn page will not let me pause this video. So I'm sitting here talking to you as I've got this annoying ass video in my ear. But now
don't you hate that?
Gone. So I'm back. Well, I'm thinking because when I'm listening, I'm like, oh man, they can hear that video, but then obviously no, they can't because I've got the microphone in front of me. But
right,
I don't know, dude. I don't know. People just websites are stupid. The internet's dumb. Everything's.
I've had that happen to me a couple of times when I was on the computer doing the podcast, and I was always like, "Oh, shut up."
Yeah, but then nobody can actually hear it because.
Right, which is good.
It's only you. Yeah. But now we'll move over to the NBA. We'll just recap some quick deals. You've got Tobias Harris going to Detroit. And by the way, USA.com, thank you for the recap because I forgot to write all the important deals down. Tobias Harris goes to the Pistons. The Magic gets Brandon Jennings and Ersan Ilyasova. I'm so excited that I nailed that name right there. Courtney Lee goes to the Hornets. PJ Hairston and Chris Anderson go to the Grizzlies. And Brian Roberts ends up with the Heat. Oh man, that's a name I don't think I'm going to be able to pronounce. Donatas Marijunas, I believe is how you pronounce the name, and Marcus Thornton go to the Pistons. Joel Anthony goes to the Rockets and a first-round pick. But I heard that deal may fall apart, so we'll see what happens there coming up. Ends up in Cleveland. The Magic get a second-round pick and Jared Cunningham from the Magic. Or the Magic get Jared Cunningham from Cleveland. I'm sorry, and then Portland gets Anderson Varejao and a future first-round pick from Cleveland. Both Anderson Varejao also from Cleveland. Varejao was bought out, and we'll talk about him in just a moment. And my page is gone. What the hell is going on with USA Today? I don't know, but
awesome.
You got to roll with the punches, man. You got to roll with the punches on a podcast. That's why I used to write the podcast long and long form, and now I don't, and I'm mad about it. Anyways,
right?
That page is garbage. I'm out of that page. We kind of recap the deadline, but big talk on the deadline was the Milwaukee Bucks. Apparently, they were set to acquire Dwight Howard from the Houston Rockets. But Dwight Howard would not opt into his final season on the deal, so the Bucks walked. Does it surprise you? Lewis, does it surprise you that that Houston is trying so hard to dump Dwight Howard?
No, not at all. Not at all. Dwight Howard and James Harden can't get along. They don't like each other. They're not on the same page. They just see, what was it, last night? The failed alley-oop attempt where Harden tossed the ball up in the direction of Dwight, and Dwight didn't even jump. So the ball hit the backboard, and it was a turnover, and then Dwight throws his hands up at Harden like, what are you doing? Like, you were moving in the direction of the basket. He threw the ball to you. Why didn't you jump? Like, they're not on the same page. It's horrible.
Well, I mean, at some point in time, it seemed like a good idea on paper, and for a while it worked out, and then it just started to the cracks started to show, the stress fracture started to show in the relationship, and then the team's performance, and they had the right idea. Because, I mean, I think James Harden is a fantastic basketball player. I don't think, Dwight Howard's so bad himself. But together, those two just cannot coexist. It's kind of like what we saw, I mean, on a different level, because obviously Kobe and Shaq are two of the greatest players to ever play the game. But when they had Kobe and Shaq in Los Angeles, and while things were going good, yes, but there were stress fractures in the relationship and in the performance of the team. And then that's, that blew up and Shaq moved on, but it's one of those things where I don't know if basketball is the worst, but I've definitely noticed, and maybe it's just me paying attention less to basketball, but it seems to me like basketball is the one sport where you have to be almost an expert at massaging egos. And if you can't massage an ego of a superstar when you have multiple ones on your squad, you're in trouble.
Yeah, no, that's true. And some people, the sad part is, not everyone has monster egos. Like Shaquille, he wasn't the one with the ego. Did he have an ego? Yes. He was the biggest dude on the floor. You couldn't stop him unless you put him at the free throw line.
Well, that's why I think a guy like David Blatt, even though he was one of the better teams in the East, that's why I think a guy like David Blatt got fired. Or guys like David Blatt get fired. Because if you can come in and coach the hell out of a basketball team, but if you can't massage the egos and you can't control that locker room, you're in trouble. I mean, right. we know how good the Heat were for all those years with the Big Three, but it's one of those things where you have to almost give Eric Spoelstra benefit of the doubt and more credit than what he gets now because of how that team stuck together and how he was able to keep that team on the same page, keep all the superstars happy with playing time, with assignments, all that stuff, and everything turned out well. I mean, for the most part, they didn't win as many championships as they promised. They promised like 69 championships and won 2 or 3. I don't remember how many they won. I mean, it's insignificant because they promised so many and didn't pull through.
Right.
But speaking of champions, this is a very, very seamless transition here. The Golden State Warriors get better. They get deeper, I should say. Portland, as we talked about, Anders and Varejao. Well, now Varejao is a Golden State Warrior. Boom.
When did that happen?
A couple days ago.
How did I miss that?
Let me check.
Man, I don't know what's going on, but my allergies are going nuts.
I can hear you. Yeah, you're struggling over there, man.
Sorry, man.
You're okay. Anderson Varejao, yeah, he signed a couple days ago. He is a Golden State Warrior.
That's a good move right there.
Although here's something that tells you that should tell you the story. Anderson Varejao came out and said that there were chemistry problems with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I want to get the exact quote here. I just saw this. Anderson Varejao made it clear that his new Golden State teammates, quote, love each other to the point where they was maybe hinting the opposite was the situation on the Cavaliers when he left. And LeBron said, I would hope if you're 50-5 that everyone loves each other. I mean, shit. What else do you want at that point? Duh. Anybody could say that. Stevie Wonder could say that. So I would think LeBron sounds a little salty because Varejao is on a better team and openly talk shit about LeBron and the Cavaliers, which, I mean, we know LeBron's got the insane amount of pressure on him because he needs to be the greatest ever. He needs to be better than Michael Jordan, and he's not going to be. That's like asking Sidney Crosby. That's like asking Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid even now to be better than Wayne Gretzky. You're putting way too much pressure on someone who probably can't control that or handle that pressure. I know we're going cross sport here, but that's really what it is. Just let LeBron be LeBron. If he wins no more championships, he's still going to be one of the greatest players ever because he's insanely talented, and he'll go down as statistically as one of the greatest ever. But don't ever try to compare LeBron to Michael Jordan because it's ridiculous. Like we've talked about it all the time. I mean, we can sit here and compare guys like Brady and Manning and talk about greatest ever because they played in the same era. But with Michael Jordan and LeBron, it's just too many extenuating circumstances, too many outside factors, a different game, different style of play. The level of talent around Jordan in the NBA wasn't as great, maybe, or vice versa, whatever. But like, I'm over it,
Yeah, no,
maybe
I agree.
Maybe it's the illness talking.
But you know what? Like LeBron says something like that, and he makes it seem like the Cavaliers are having a horrible season, and I believe they only have 15 losses on the season.
Yeah. I believe they're 40 and 15.
Yes. So it's not like you guys are playing really bad.
Again, I think it all goes. I think when it all goes back to it at the base of it, it's the insane amount of pressure and expectations on LeBron James. I think that's the problem.
Probably.
Now, real quick before we move on, Memphis loses Marc Gasol for the rest of the year with a broken foot. The injury is not expected to be career-threatening because we know how feet can be in basketball, but he's out the rest of the year. He'll be fine for next season. Moving over now to hockey. The hot stove is heating up, I guess is the best way to put it. The trade talk is running rampant. We have a couple trades to discuss here. First off, the first head scratcher of the trade season so far, Hunter Shinkaruk was dealt from the Canucks to the Flames for Marcus Granlund. Now, Shinkaruk was a prospect of the Maple Leafs. Or not. Why the hell I say Maple Leafs? The Canucks. I don't know why I said Maple Leafs. I should probably try to talk and not read at the same time. Shinkaruk was a prospect. He's a prospect of the Canucks, traded to Calgary. Now, it raised some red flags because, well, a lot of people don't think that GM Jim Benning in Vancouver really knows too much of what he's doing, and moves like this certainly lean in that direction. It's just I don't know if
go ahead.
I don't know if Shinkaruk famous or not famous, fantastic. I'm fucking losing my mind over here. I don't know if he's going to be fantastic for Calgary or if he may be like the next big thing, but he's signed through 2018, so he's under team control for 2 more years, at least. He's 7th in the AHL in goals with 21. He led the Utica Comets with 39 points in 45 games. Last year, he only had 16 goals and 31 points in 74 games. But Granlund has put 25 goals up 2 seasons ago in Abbotsford and hasn't been able to hang around when he gets called to the NHL. And he's a restricted free agent this summer. So it's something where it's something where they're taking a big swing here, and if it's a miss, it's going to be really bad. Because apparently Jim Benning said that they liked Granlund's versatility on the wing and down the middle, as well as his two-way ability. They said Shinkaruk was not ready for the NHL at this point in time, they don't think, so they dealt him for a guy who they thought was. I don't know if this is going to turn out well for Vancouver in the long run, and I don't even know if, I mean, right now Jim Benning I don't think he's doing too good of a job in Vancouver with the Canucks, so it may be a thing where Benning is certainly maybe getting himself on some bad lists and maybe working his way out of the city if he continues to make head scratching moves like this.
Yeah, but I feel like you don't get to be the general manager of a professional hockey team if you don't have, a clue what you're doing. He must have saw something that other people aren't seeing, or he does just suck. Who knows?
I mean, I'm gonna go the route of sucking, because we've seen some moves he's made in the past, and he's just not very smart. Not always the smartest with the moves he makes.
All right. Well, maybe it's time for them to get a new GM.
Maybe it's something that they focus on down the road. But moving on now to Montreal, their nightmare season continues. They lose David Descharnais for 3 weeks with a broken foot. That's certainly going to help out their depleted offense. Move over to Toronto now, who is we can just flat out, we can call a spade here. I mean, Toronto is trying their best to get themselves in the top 3 so they can get Austin Matthews, or they can get Jesse Puljujarvi or Patrick Laine, or maybe Matthew Tkachuk if that's what they're interested in, or Jacob Chychrun if that's what they want. But they've started their big sell-off at this trade deadline season. First off, Toronto made a trade with the Colorado Avalanche. They send Sean Mathias to Colorado for a 4th-round pick and Colin Smith. And then they make another trade with the San Jose Sharks. They traded Roman Polak to the Sharks for Rafi Torres and draft picks. Unrestricted free agents are moving. And the deal with Rafi Torres, I don't know. It's just part of the deal, I guess. San Jose gets Nick Spaulding. Toronto gets 2 second-round picks, 2017, 2018. They get the minor league contract of Rafi Torres. Rafi Torres is one of those guys where we know he's a dirt pile. And we've talked about him before. He had that gigantic suspension and then was essentially blackballed from the league. No one wants him around. And I heard something about him being returned to San Jose, but I'm not sure yet. I want to double check that. Yeah, it's Roman Polak will help Sharks now and headed to the playoffs, and it helps out Toronto because they get to dump contracts and continue their move towards rebuilding that franchise. I guess is the best way to put it. They're tanking. We all know they're tanking. They're doing it apparently quote unquote the right way, which everyone shit on the Sabres last year for doing it. And now all of a sudden, because Toronto, a prestigious Original Six franchise, is doing it, it's okay.
I got nothing for you, man.
That's fine. Last hockey move we're going to talk about here. The Buffalo Sabres make a trade. They deal defenseman Mike Weber, set to be an unrestricted free agent. They get a third-round pick for Mike Weber. Now, the Sabres did retain some salary in the deal, which probably makes the pick higher, but that's the benefit of having an owner with some cash in his pocket. Because, I mean, this time last year, Mike Weber was a candidate to be cut with no compensation. This year, Dan Bylsma has used Weber wisely, put him in situations of strength with defensemen of strength, and he's really brought his value back up. And I mean, like I said, the Washington Cap. I mean, it'll probably be it's a 2017 third round pick, so it's next season, but it'll probably be a late third round pick. But still, that's you can still find decent talent if you know what you're doing. You can find decent talent at that point in the draft, and if you turned a pending UFA into a role player down the road, that's not a bad trade at all. And I mean,
right?
Either the trade market's going to be ridiculous this year, or Tim Murray, just because he ate some cash and essentially gave them Mike Weber, got a high pick. We'll see. But before we move on from hockey, I just want to let everybody know, on Monday, the 29th, I will be live at the First Niagara Center, probably in the cafeteria, because we usually hang out in the cafeteria every year. They set it up as kind of like a mini war room for media. I will be live at the First Niagara Center doing an all-day trade deadline live page over at BLTDsports.com, where I just live update a table. There's a Twitter feed. It'll update every 60 seconds. You can obviously follow me on Twitter at WolfBLTD. We'll have all the latest hockey happenings on the tweet bots. But with that being said, we move over to golf now, because we got some word on Tiger Woods. We got some word on Tiger Woods this week, and it doesn't sound good. Apparently, Tiger Woods is not getting much better after his microdiscectomy. The person who reported it said, about 95% of them are successful, but this one, apparently Tiger just got unlucky. So, how does Tiger Woods respond to that? He doesn't come out with a strongly worded tweet. Doesn't come out with an article saying, I'm healthy, I'm going to be better, I'll be back at Augusta. He posted a 13-second video on Twitter of him taking a shot. And he looks like he's getting better. Taking a chip shot on a golf simulator. He looks like he's getting better. So, I mean, we'll see. I would assume he's getting better for Augusta, because at this point, at his age, at his health, it may only make sense for him to show up, a couple times a year at big places like Augusta. I mean, I'm sure that the competitive fighter in him will still bring him around for the big tournaments, but he's on the back nine, obviously, of his career, but he may be closer to the end than we think, but it may be better for his long-term health and his long-term viability. He may be able to add a couple years if he only goes out and plays maybe 10 or 15 tournaments this year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But we know he won't.
He's too much of a competitor.
For him, it's a blessing and a curse,
Right.
Like, if he was a little smarter, maybe he could have stayed healthier longer, but because he's so set in his ways, it seems like it's certainly hurt him in the long run. But I hope we see Tiger back for Augusta. I don't think he'll be much of a competitor. I mean, Jordan Spieth this year, he's my pick to win everything until he doesn't, because he's just so fantastic at the game of golf. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm rooting for Tiger just because I want to see him set all the records that he can. But you know, if he doesn't, we know Tiger's had a fantastic career already. So
yes,
when we hear more, we'll let you know more.
You know, it's just crazy how things change. Like, he was a lock to break all the records, and all of a sudden, now, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, that's the one thing that really has blown my mind about how fragile the human body can be. That Tiger Woods was on pace to be, like you said, the greatest golfer of all time. I would put Tiger in his prime over Jack Nicklaus in his prime any day. And that's bold, I know. But coming from, like, if you get a golf fan, a diehard golf fan, I say that to them, they may smack me in the face. I don't know. But I'm saying I would go Tiger, because I feel like it's kind of like Manning and Brady. Like, I would go Brady over Manning just because I feel like Brady's a better big game guy. I feel like Tiger, when it comes to the bigger tournaments, played kind of next level. Like, he brought his great game up to a almost impossible to beat game. And that's Tiger Woods in a nutshell. Like, he's always been, when he's on, and you're not going to beat him. That's it. There's no, well, what if I do this? What if I do that? No, even if you played the greatest game of your life, if Tiger in his prime is on, there's no way you're beating him.
Nope, not happening. Yeah, I agree with you.
Now I want to move over to baseball real fast. Spring training still going on. Everything's heating up. We got the Twitter videos of guys taking hacks, fielding practice. I've already watched probably 35 videos of Hanley Ramirez playing first base, and I've cringed every single time. But we do have some news. The Baltimore Orioles signed outfielder Dexter Fowler, who they've been linked to for a while. He'll fit in real well with that team, in that lineup, in that stadium. And they went to sign Giovanni Gallardo from the Texas Rangers, but apparently talks are now on hold because they raised some red flags on his shoulder MRI, so they want to do some deeper digging. They want to dig deeper to see if maybe they can find anything, because obviously they were going to invest $3 and $35 in him, and if that's not going to be good, if that's not going to do the trick, they don't want to get stuck with a ton of cash for a guy who's busted. So busted up,
right?
At least. Now, I want to talk about Bryce Harper real fast here, because Washington GM Mike Rizzo says that Washington has explored a contract extension with Bryce Harper, who is a free agent after 2018. Now, there's no way Bryce Harper signs a contract with Washington before free agency starts. But how much money would you be comfortable giving Bryce Harper if you were a GM of a baseball team?
Oh, man. Oh, jeez. Are we talking a lot? I'm giving him a lot.
Like, I think with let me get real fast. I think that there's no way that Bryce Harper won't be the highest paid baseball player when he gets his contract. I mean, we saw Giancarlo Stanton had 13 and 325. I could probably see Bryce Harper being baseball's first $400 million player. That's been the talk on the street. The word on the street has been that. I'm buying it, because I would assume the salary cap is going to go up a little in baseball as time goes on. But, I mean, I don't see why you can't compensate a guy like Bryce Harper that much, because he is a fantastic baseball player, a good mix of average and power. He's a fantastic outfielder, great on the bases. I mean, yeah, he got in a fight with John Papelbon, but that's John Papelbon's fault, because John Papelbon is a meathead. But, you know, I agree. It's something where I think you got to pay Bryce Harper the coin if you want to keep him. I mean, Steven Strasburg is going to walk. We talked about that. We know that's going to happen. But I would probably be comfortable breaking the bank to keep Bryce Harper in Washington, because guess what? if Harper leaves Washington, where's your baseball team?
Right.
And I really think I really do think that
they need him.
Yeah, I think that you want to make him, give him whatever he wants. Give him a blank check and say, just let me know how much you took out of the bank.
Yeah, he's one of those guys they can't get rid of. He's too good. He hits the ball too well.
And
he's great in the field.
If they think that he's going to walk, you almost have to trade him. Because, yeah, you'll get a first-round pick back, but for the value of the player that he is, you might be able to get something really damn good for him if you play your cards right.
Right.
But that trade a guy, like in hockey with Steve Stamkos, they don't know if he's going to resign in Tampa. So the GM is going all in and saying we're going to keep him past the deadline, and if he walks, we'll deal with it then. But, like, if he walks, that's your ass, man. Like, you put yourself out there. You could have traded him and got some pieces, but then again, if you traded him, you're a Stanley Cup contender, and if you deal your best player, what does that say to your team?
Right.
So, yeah, we'll talk about it obviously more as the time comes, but I think you got to pay Bryce Harper. There's just no doubt about it. Pay him whatever he wants.
Yeah, there's no way you don't pay that dude. I would give him a lot of money.
Yeah, not even a dollar amount, just a lot.
Yeah, I think most of these people make too much money, but you have to pay that dude.
I don't think whatever you pay him, I don't think it would be enough. Same with Giancarlo Stanton. You pay him a lot, but it's still not enough.
Right.
Last but not least here, before we get on to the life portion of the podcast, UFC, big news out of UFC this week. For the fourth time in his last 8 fights, Conor McGregor has a new opponent at UFC 196. Apparently, Rafael Dos Anjos broke his foot. Conor McGregor has referred to it as a bruised foot, but there's a break in his foot. Dos Anjos is out. Frankie Edgar apparently was offered a title fight. He's got a groin injury. Anthony Showtime Pettis wants to fight. They turned it down. Donald Cerrone offered to fight. They turned it down. He just fought last weekend. And then Nate Diaz apparently offered to fight, and Nate Diaz got the gig. So, here's the thing, though. McGregor fights at 145. He was moving up to 155 to fight the title shot. Now he's moving up to 170, which is welterweight. So I'm interested to see how much, because McGregor walking weight is 170. Fighting weight, he weighs in at 145 and then whatever after that. But when he's not fighting, he's 170. So I'm interested to see what a lean cut 170 McGregor can do in the octagon against Nate Diaz. The press conference was on Wednesday the 24th. It was hilarious because McGregor just tore Diaz apart, and Diaz is just like, I'm here to fight. And McGregor just talked a bunch of smack. You get a second, I would go check it out. But it's something where I was thinking about this today, and call me crazy if you need to, because I might just be losing my mind here. But if McGregor beats Diaz, I almost think it's bad for the sport. Now, follow me along on this. It'd be great if Conor McGregor was dominating multiple weight classes, because it's never been done before. But what happens when McGregor owns 3 titles in 3 different weight classes? Like, yeah, there's going to be a spectacular lust around this guy who has, multiple titles in multiple divisions. And if McGregor does do this successfully, it may open up the door for a guy like John Jones to say, I'm going to be the light heavyweight champion and the heavyweight champion at the same time. It's something he said he's wanted to do, but if he moves up to heavyweight, he may stay in the lightweight division and say, light heavyweight division, and say, I'm gonna stick around and do what McGregor did. I was just wondering what you thought, because I'm starting to think that if McGregor dominates the sport, like, yeah, it's fantastic for the sport, but when it comes to the UFC, and we know this better than anybody, if you have a fighter fighting a fight that there is no chance the opponent can win, Why do you want to watch? So, like, after a while, watching McGregor fight, I feel like, I mean, I'll still watch. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying I'm not going to ever tune in, because whenever McGregor's fighting, you've got my attention. But I feel like after a while, it may become like Ronda Rousey, where people are like, you know, I'm not going to buy it. I'll go watch it on the internet. I'm not going to buy this because, you know, the main event's going to last 35 seconds. So I guess, like I said, do you think that maybe dominating multiple weight classes could turn out to be a bad thing for the UFC, or do you think it's a step in the right direction for him?
I actually think it's a step in the right direction, because what happens is you need people who are polarizing, who are going to get people to watch. And he's one of those individuals that you just want to watch. And if he's dominating multiple divisions, then who cares? Like, yay.
Mind you, I want to point out, I'm sorry to cut you off, Louis, but I do want to point out, when you said he makes you want to watch, I can confirm this. The press conference for McGregor Diaz at UFC 196, which takes place March 5th. We'll talk more about it next week. But over 200,000 people, including myself, watch the press conference.
Yeah, see, and that's what's going to happen. People want to see this dude. People want to hear what he's going to say next, because everyone knows that he's probably going to say something outrageous. He's funny to watch do it. So I don't think it's a bad thing. Plus, you know, if you have someone who can dominate multiple weight classes, you're going to have other people who are going to try to step their game up, because you have people who are already you have people who are already in that weight class who are going to, you know, they're going to want to try to shut this dude down. They're going to want to try to shut his mouth. And now you got several weight classes gunning for this guy. So the competition will become even greater. So I believe it's a good thing.
But here's the thing I think about, the devil's advocate portion of it. If McGregor has 2 or 3 titles at once, what do you think would happen? Because if he fights, say, 3 or 4 times a year, he defends a title once a year or twice a year. So we'll say he fights 6 times in a year. That could, I feel like it could be very sketchy. It may be a thing where he vacates a title, or, you know, they have like a tournament to face McGregor or something like that, because he's not going to be able to fight every 3 or 4 months. I mean, it may be a thing where he can, but it's going to become something where he gets burnt out. He's got to. I mean, he's flying high at a rapid pace, and I just see what happened with Ronda Rousey, and I kind of step back, and I'm like, you know, I'm waiting for him to come back to earth. He may never come back to earth. He may just go on to be the greatest fighter we've ever seen in our lives. But
right,
like, it's like with what happened with John Jones. I know it's a different situation. I know it's out of the octagon stuff that happened, but we wait for moments like that where we're like, okay, this guy is on top of the world. He's the greatest thing we've ever seen. When's the other shoe going to drop? And that's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, we'll find out. I mean, if you hold 3 titles, my concern would be this. If you hold multiple titles in multiple weight classes, the constant fluctuation of weights has got to take a toll eventually. So eventually he's going to lose. and how he gets back up from that is what I would like to see. But maybe he's just one of those freaks of natures that can do that. You know, I mean, his walking weight is 170, so he's going to fight at 170. What did he weigh at when he won that title?
145.
Right. So that is a 25-pound difference right there. That's a lot of weight to fluctuate back and forth between fights. So my thing would be, you know, it's going to eventually take a toll. And if it does, watching him recover will be the fun part, because he might come back even better. But, you know, if he could do 170 and not look sluggish in the ring and show that he can dominate at that weight, that'd be awesome.
Sign me up for it. Seriously, I want to watch him fight 100 times in a year if he can. I'm down for whatever.
I think this will be a good fight. I think this will be a real good fight.
I think it's going to be a lot of throwing, but I feel like Nate Diaz is probably in over his head.
Nate Diaz is pretty good, though.
Yeah, we said the same thing about Jose Aldo, and look what happened there.
Yeah, that's true. I'd like to see that fight again, though. I'd like to see a rematch.
Apparently, Jose Aldo was going to fight McGregor, and then he backed out. That was they first contacted Aldo and said, "Do you want the fight?" I mean, it's only 12. They only had 12 days notice, so it's not like it's going to be very fair for the guy fighting McGregor. But we'll see what happens. I mean, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11 days now until the fight. So we'll see what happens with the fight.
It's tough to get ready for someone like McGregor in 11 days.
We'll see. I mean, it'll probably be a built-in excuse of something if a loss does happen. But then again, we don't know until it happens. So when that comes up, we'll talk more about it. But that's been the podcast. I want to move over to some life stuff now because got some exciting stuff to tell you. First off, I bought a microphone a couple weeks ago, and I'm able to record a podcast on a voice recorder now, so we might be able to go places and podcast in person a little more. It sounds fantastic. Well, it sounds good. It sounds pretty good, I should say. With a little editing, it sounds pretty damn good. So
cool.
That's pretty cool. We're able to go further with it and have some fun with things, which is pretty cool. But I think I'm going to...
What kind of microphone did you buy?
A Shure 48. 48...
Oh, okay, yeah.
48 LC.
Nice. It's a good mic, sure.
I took it to the Sabres game when that was in the press box for BLTDsports.com. Got some audio post game. It sounds fantastic. I'll shoot you the clip. But besides that, I mean, it's pretty fun. And I think what I'm going to do here shortly as well is go out and buy an XLR to USB board, so we'll be able to record wherever we want. Have a board and find. I have to learn how to produce, but once I learn how to produce, we should be all set to go. It'll be a lot of fun, and we can have guests on. We can have cool soundboard audio. We can plug our phones directly into the board, so we don't have to do Uber conference. We can just have them call our cell phones, and just a lot of ways to make the podcast better, make it more exciting, expand our brand, everything like that.
I'm down with it.
Just having fun, And I've every so often I get a wild hair at my ass, and I'm like, let's do something fun with the podcast, and I finally decided to pull the trigger and do this, and it's something I'm not looking back from. That's for sure.
Nice.
Also, last Sunday, I went to the movie theater and I saw Deadpool.
Okay, all right, let's talk about it.
Dude, I don't even know where to start.
Okay, real quick. Hold on a second, real quick. If you have not seen Deadpool and you're listening to the podcast,
thanks for tuning in. Well, here's the deal. I was thinking about this, how we were going to address this. Sorry to cut you off. If you haven't seen Deadpool yet,
it's time for you to check out.
Yeah, if you care about Deadpool and you want to see it and you haven't seen it yet, thanks for joining the podcast. Come back and listen to our talk after the podcast, after you watch the movie. I promise you it's fantastic. But if you have seen it or don't really care, stick around. We're going to talk about it, but we'll give you 5 seconds.
Exactly.
We'll give you 5 seconds to X out. Thanks for joining us on a Better Live Than Dead podcast, episode 80. It's been fun. We'll talk next week. We'll talk more. You're not being excluded. We just don't want to spoil anything for you. So we'll count from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Now, Deadpool. I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know where to begin. Like the movie, I thought the movie was absolutely fantastic. Ryan Reynolds was hilarious. The way that I thought T.J. Miller was perfect. The way that they told the story was just, it flowed very well. Like even with the flashbacks that they had in the movie, you were kind of like, they didn't just show a flashback. They showed a flashback and then they worked that flashback to present day to where you were.
Right.
Like when he was in the truck after he cut his hand off. And they didn't
Right.
just like show you a spot and then go back there. They started where they showed you where that started, and then it ended up with him riding in the truck again. So it's like, okay.
Exactly.
'Cause when the flashbacks happened, I was kind of like, where are you going with this? But then when they ended, I'm like, that was awesome. That was really cool. Yeah, I thought the effects were great. The way that they told the story of how he became Deadpool was fantastic. The fact that they threw the line in the movie that made Ryan Reynolds want to become Deadpool cracked me up.
Right.
Where he said, I look like Ryan Reynolds mixed with a Shar-Pei dog. And I'm like, yeah, come to find out, that was the line. That was the line in the Deadpool comics that made Ryan Reynolds want to be Deadpool.
Yep.
Thunk it. But I thought that was like, dude, I'm going to go see it again soon, I think. I have to, because it was absolutely fantastic.
I believe I'm going to go see it again soon, too. Maybe tomorrow, to be honest with you, because a new movie starts in IMAX on Friday, and I kind of want to see it in IMAX.
That would be dope. That'd be really cool. Yeah. I think what I'm going to do before I see it again is I'm going to go on the internet and read the giant list of Easter eggs.
Dude, there was
then go back
so
and watch it again.
many of them.
Well, the one that was pointed out to me, that was hilarious, aside from obviously all the Hugh Jackman appearances in the movie and the Green Lantern showing up and Ryan Reynolds, Sexiest Man Alive, showing up, was when they were when Deadpool comes back to the bar for the first time and talks to T.J. Miller, and the Deadpool board is up, and someone had chosen Shia LaBeouf in the Deadpool.
Yes. Yeah.
That was hilarious.
That was hilarious. Now, did you see the original, the Wolverine, where Ryan Reynolds became Deadpool?
No, I've never seen that. I've heard things about it, but I've never seen that one. No.
Okay, so in that movie, they make Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, and they sew his mouth shut because he was really sarcastic in that role also.
Yeah.
But as Deadpool, they sew his mouth shut because his father, who was the person who oversaw him becoming Deadpool, was tired of his sarcasm, basically. So they sew his mouth shut. And his swords kind of grow out of his arms like Wolverine's claws come out of his hands. Well, when he finds out he has cancer and he decides that he's going to leave his girl and he's packing up his stuff, he says, I can't forget my most prized possession, and he grabs an action figure. It's the action figure of the original Deadpool in the Wolverine movie.
I do remember that, yeah.
That was hilarious. There was so many little things that I was just like, dude, this movie is awesome.
Well, it's on pace to become the highest grossing rated R movie ever. Had the biggest opening weekend in rated R movie history. I mean, it's just everything that it could have done, it did, and it's been fantastic. And I'm very pleased with it. Like I said, I'm gonna go see it again soon.
The one thing I was surprised by was Deadpool could actually teleport. So the fact that he couldn't in this movie was kind of surprising to me.
Well, did they not purposely not show us, or do you think they just glazed over it?
I think they just glazed over it because he was taking that taxi cab everywhere. And let's be honest, that was hilarious.
Dude, that was, I'll tell you what, if that wasn't in the movie, I think the movie would have been a lot less funnier because the taxi cab provided some of the best comedy in that movie. Like how the driver called him Mr. Pool.
Yep.
Like, that's great. That's hilarious.
The second time when he's in the taxi cab and to see Colossus all stuffed in the back was pretty funny. And then when the taxi driver had his brother-in-law, or not his brother-in-law, his best friend who was his romantic rival in the trunk, oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because Colossus is like, oh, you should let him go. That's not cool. And Deadpool's like, Yeah, what are you thinking? That's not what I meant. In other words, Brett, he's like, kill him. Dump his body in the river.
And then when he drove away, he goes, you know what to do.
Right, exactly. But then he forgot his guns, and then he gets rear-ended. So he gets rear-ended with his rival in the trunk and that whole big bag of guns. I felt bad for him almost.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with it. Now the next one coming up is Captain America: Civil War, which we'll get to talk about in a couple months.
I'm looking forward to that.
Oh God, yeah, dude, I'm hype as hell.
It was just announced. Well, it was kind of just leaked. That
if it's a spoiler about the movie, what's up? What were you gonna say?
That the Incredible Hulk will be making an appearance.
Yeah, I was hearing that. I heard about that, and then I heard he was also he's gonna be in Thor a lot, but he may not, which is pretty cool because I'm of the thought process that if Mark Ruffalo had done the original Incredible Hulk movie, it would have been a lot better. But because of the studio that Universal owning Hulk, it's created a problem with coming up with another standalone Hulk movie. So they just feature the Hulk a lot in other movies.
Right.
A lot of people have said the new Thor movie is like a new Hulk movie because he's there. He's so present in the movie, which is pretty cool. But I'm interested to see how both those movies, because isn't Thor coming out in like November?
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, it'll be a good year for comic book movies for sure. But I hate to cut this short, but I have to piss really bad because that giant liter of Pedialyte has worked its way through me, and I have to pee so bad. So I'm sorry to cut this short. Maybe next week I'm getting a tattoo again, so next week will probably be tough. But maybe sometime soon we can get together and we can podcast together again. Even if like we go to the cigar shop or something and just sit around with the microphone and just like, because essentially it would be like I interview you.
Let's do it.
But like I said, dude, I'm gonna send you the audio after I piss. I'm gonna email you the audio from the locker room. All I did was I highlighted the audio in Audacity. I hit amplify. It said 5.5. I hit OK and I amplified the audio to 5.5. And you can tell me. You tell me how good it was. And I was standing right next to the guy with the microphone near him. So if we sit next to each other, or we sit across from each other, I can just, back and forth like we're interviewing each other. I mean, breaking down the fourth wall here, but I think that would be pretty damn cool because it's been a while. It's been way too long.
And that was another thing I liked about Deadpool was how much he broke the fourth wall.
Dude, it's just the whole movie is, I'm going to go see it again and we'll talk about it more.
Which, by the way, he breaks the fourth wall a lot in the comic books too.
Well, that's. I'm glad that they stayed true to the character, because sometimes they don't, as you've seen before, and I'm glad that they stayed true to the character and really they nailed it. But like I said, I have to piss really bad. I'm sorry.
All right, man. Go do what you gotta do.
Thank you. I'm Ryan Wolf at WolfBLTD on Twitter. Mr. Perez at MRLG Perez. Follow BLTD Sports on Twitter at BLTD Sports. Facebook.com/BLTD Podcast. Check out BLTDSports.com for the latest breaking sports news. As well as, like I said, Monday the 29th, Trade Deadline Live. You'll see a lot about it on the tweet bots. I'm gonna whore that thing out as much as I possibly can. I'm trying to help people out here. I know how hard it is. I know how hard it is to work a day job and not have any access to any sports news. Make a nice little webpage that shouldn't be blocked on your job's server, and you can just chill and you can watch Twitter and you can check out to see what the Buffalo Sabres do. So glad to help you. But as for the podcast, episode 80 in the books. We are better live than dead.
You're not.
We'll catch you next week, same time, same place, my friends. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a good night, and bye.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.